Welcome to another adventure here in the framework. It's Agents of Hydra, the Nuff Said podcast. I'm your host, Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me and you, as always, is...
Kenneth Smyson.
So enthusiastic. Are you souring on Hydra, Ken?
Oh, goodness, no. I'm enjoying this, continuing to be a solid stretch. Every episode's been entertaining and very thought-provoking.
Very good.
I know. I think the framework should just. I think Ada. I kind of want Ada to win because the stories and the show is so great right now.
Absolutely, and of course, just have to take a moment out to thank our loving sponsor, Exxon Blue Soap. Yes, Exxon Blue Soap. Wash away your worries, wash away your cares, wash away yourself with Exxon Blue Soap. Okay, back to the podcast. Let's see here. So when we open up, Daisy is just coming out of Terrigenesis.
Awesome.
Oh, yes. And we see May standing there ready to rock. And we see our intrepid heroes run out of the room only to be confronted by Madam Hydra and her goons. And they tell them to drop their weapons, which they do.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, Daisy's now a living weapon. And man, I was really shocked. She knocks Madam Hydra out the window,
mm-hmm.
and she falls. And, you know, I really thought she died there.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is that she designed her body to be extra resilient, coating for her body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting moment because, you know, obviously she gets knocked out, she falls down. Now, yes, people do survive, 10-story drops. That does happen. And, she certainly had an adequate amount of damage, we see. She's, like, basically a quadriplegic now.
Oh, yeah.
Which is... But, I guess what's interesting to me is the idea that, she probably coded herself to survive, but she didn't code herself not to be a quadriplegic.
Well, see, what if that could be a plot twist where she literally does die. Her coding and everything is gone, and then we're left with Evil Fitz as the end villain. And it becomes a matter of trying to save him from himself. And,
Well, I don't think Ada can actually die in the framework. In fact, if I was going to hazard a fan theory, my fan theory would be that she did die, that the body Ada died. But because Ada can go back into the framework, she can go back in and the body comes back alive, but it still has the damage it had.
Oh, which would explain, because that was a significant fall. I'm like, that's...
Yeah.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. And that elevator is getting a lot of love in the MCU.
Yeah. Well, elevator fights, here's what I'll tell you about elevator fights. They're small room fights, so they're easy to choreograph. Yep. And you get that nice camera angle, so it's always real dramatic, even if you don't have a really good fighter. So, you can do a lot with an elevator fight. And, yeah, and also it's such a neat concept of the transit of moving up or down in the elevator as someone is fighting, Yeah.
And the same thing with the hallway fights where, you're kind of progressing through the hallway, which I'm pretty sure Darth Vader watches the MCU movies because he really had fun with his hallway fight in Rogue One.
Mm-hmm. Oh, actually, I have not yet seen Rogue One.
Oh, my goodness. I am so sorry. I spoiled that for you.
Oh, now I'm actually more excited to find out that Darth Vader actually has a fight in it, We're so used to him just sort of standing there breathing heavy,
Oh, yeah.
Sort of like when Yoda has his, fight in the third Star Wars film, And it's like, oh, wow, exactly. Yoda can actually do more than just be a puppet. That's cool. Okay, let's get some credits out of here. Tonight's episode was directed by Billy Gerhardt. Writers were James Oliver and Charla Oliver. Of course, this is a Whedon Traknian production, with, of course, Joss Whedon executive producing. So, yeah, it is really fascinating. We get a nice scene of Trip and Simmons, because well, actually no, before this what do we have? We have May and Sky go and find Radcliffe.
Mm-hmm.
And Radcliffe tells them where the what's it called? Where the Project Looking Glass is being stored.
Well, didn't he tell her through the vent, and then?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
okay.
She told him he told Daisy through the vent, and then Daisy told May she knows where it's at.
Oh yeah, okay. Was that last episode? Everything's running together in my head now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Because I want to say that there was a scene of Radcliffe and Ada at some point too, where Ada sort of promises him. Ah, man, now I'm completely lost in my own mind. Okay, well let's focus on what happens. You had notes, Ken. Let's see you be professional for a minute. What else happens?
Let's see. Well, after the awesome Ada blast, then you get go back to the Superior's facility, where she gets automatically released from the framework and has a talk with the Superior, who's trying to kill Melinda, but he can't.
Yes, and that of course confirms my theory that the reason why Ada cannot kill these people is because of her programming.
And she can't create somebody who can kill them. Yes. Even it extends that far.
Yes, exactly, because he is based off of the same programming.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the things, one of the things that I am very fascinated about, this is my current fan theory, because, I have suggested that, the Darkhold's purpose is to bring the Elder God Chithon to Earth. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about this today. So now Ada has created a device that can take something from the framework and give it a living body.
Yeah.
And the framework is informed by the Darkhold. Because when you think about it, they didn't have time to create every person on Earth's profile.
Oh, yeah.
So there must be something that is well beyond standard technology involved in the creating of the framework. And so if we think about that, because here's my basic fan theory. At the end of this, up to 3 people from the framework, well, up to 4 people from the framework, if we count Ada, are going to have human forms on Earth. And I think there's 3 people specifically because I don't think Ada's going to make it out. I think the 3 people who are going to have human forms on Earth are going to be, or who could have human forms on Earth, are Ward, Triplet, of course, and Hope. And because Mac isn't going to want to leave his daughter behind. If you can awaken Mac to the real world, then Mac's going to say, I'm not going to leave Hope. And, and so if they bring these people over, what if that was what Chithon wanted? What if one of these beings who come over, Trip, Ward, or Hope, is actually a vessel for Chithon?
Yeah, because I very much hope that it is deep and that your fan theory has some weight to it. Because if not, it's just a simple throwaway explanation.
Okay, so that last one ended about 10 minutes in.
Okay. That was funny because I kept just talking right there, and when I heard you go silent, I could tell there was a sound difference. I thought you were maybe talking to your kids or something, so I just started talking.
Yes. So, why don't you take it back from, I mean, like, do you remember what you said basically, or?
Yeah, my concern with the framework and the Darkhold connection was that the Darkhold was simply going to be a throwaway excuse as to why the framework itself is so advanced. And so if your theory that the framework is ultimately going to be a portal for another entity to come through into the real world, that would be incredible. Definitely set up some great stuff for season 5. And I'd like to see kind of like I see the framework more of a hybrid between digital and spiritual kind of dimensional realm stuff, following in the wake of Doctor Strange. As we're kind of going into that, branching out into that in the MCU, we can start doing that in these TV shows.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely, and certainly that's what we started with, the Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. And it's important to remember here, when they say, oh, it's not really a magical being, it's an extra-dimensional being. If the laws of physics are different in the extra-dimensional being, and that extra-dimensional being is bringing its altered laws of physics over with it, then, it is magic,
Yeah, it's, yeah. Six in one, half dozen in the other.
Exactly. Here's the thing is, like, even sorcerers understand magic. So the fact that you're saying, well, once you understand it, it's not magic. It's like, no, it's still magic. It's just, it's just you want to call it by a different name. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, I really think this could be the next big place they go. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it would be such an amazing thing if the agents have to save the world. Because, let's be clear here. There's always this, it's this constant argument in the Marvel Universe. And like, oh, why doesn't Thor call in the Hulk? Why doesn't Cap call in the Hulk? Why doesn't anyone call in the Hulk? Everyone wants to call in the Hulk. First off, because the Hulk is a kind of a loose cannon. You don't really want to call him in.
Exactly.
And Iron Man is, has his own agenda always. And Thor, it's not like the guy has a cell phone.
Well, the heroes are going to be off doing their own adventures, and so I just let that ride.
Well, and that's the thing about the Marvel, at least in the Marvel Comics universe, the universe ends almost every month. At least twice, And it's like, not every hero can be there to prevent every incursion into the universe.
Exactly.
And the idea that you have the agents having to deal with this with no real way to contact anyone, maybe reaching out to Iron Man, but getting, Friday his voicemail saying, I'm sorry, Mr. Stark is off-world at the moment,
Yeah.
It's like, oh, goodness. And, that's the problem, and I think it would be great to see the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. actually save the world or the universe or everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're the only ones that can, because they're the ones that are there when the problem occurs. Because that's how heroes wind up saving the universe. It's not like, unless you're the Fantastic Four, you're not looking to see where the holes are getting poked in the universe. It's just that you happen to be there when that hole got poked. And, you were positioned there, and so you get to save the day. And
you're in the wrong place at the right time.
Mm-hmm. Now, one thing that's kind of I've been thinking about in this, recently all the actors at a panel, probably at C2E2, were talking about how they really wish there was more connection. Really wish there was, between the movies and the TV shows. And I thought that was interesting, but it also made me think, just prior to this, you had Brett Dalton talking about how he was surprised he got to come back before Agent Triplet.
Yes.
And it strikes me, Ward knows Agent Triplet was back.
Of
Ward
course.
knew
Yeah.
that Britt was going to be in the series, as well. But he threw that out there to kind of do a little hand wavium to throw you off the scent. And it makes you wonder if, having the actors so openly talk about it is a way to suggest that actually that is exactly what we're going to be getting soon.
I would really like to think that with the restructuring that's kind of gone with, Ike, that we are going to see that they didn't rush into it. I hope that they were like, okay, we're restructured now. Let's make sure we don't just throw in some connections and have it be, an X-Men plot hole issue. And let's actually get the MCU, get some of those, B and C rank characters from the movies to show up in the show again in an organic, natural way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I always hold out hope. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. But even if we don't ever see them, I ultimately will write it off. I step back out of it and look at it for what it is. You've got actors that are, significantly pricey, and you can't expect that, we're going to see Black Widow or Iron Man or any of them show up in these shows. I'd like to see people like, like Wong, some of the assistant or backup characters, that'd be great to see them in it. But at the end of the day, it's real human beings, flesh and blood, not a drawing on a piece of paper that, you're debating whether or not it should be in a show.
I think Wong's a real possibility. And let's not forget, Wong is the current Sorcerer Supreme.
Oh, technically he is, huh?
Yeah, because he is the sorcerer of Kamar-Taj, which is where Sorcerer Supreme dwells. Steven, he's just stuck over there in that New York sanctum. Now Steven will eventually get there, but I think it's foolish to think he already is the Sorcerer Supreme. And remember, in the comics, he wasn't Sorcerer Supreme for a while into the run. It took him a while to take the mantle away from the Ancient One. In fact, I think it was only after the Ancient One died that he got to, and I don't think he's ready yet. So I think that part of what we're going to be seeing, I think probably by the time you get Doctor Strange 2, he'll be Sorcerer Supreme. But right now, there's probably a different Sorcerer Supreme. There's probably someone else that is, holding sway against the forces of evil. And I would imagine that's Wong. I would imagine he's the current Ancient One. But that's my take on it. Okay, back to the series, back to the episode. So we saw that, the Superior cannot kill. He cannot kill at all, really.
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually even the crust to that is that he actually can no longer murder anyone. Although, as Sinestro would say, you'd be surprised what you can do and not actually kill someone.
Yeah. But why did Ada? She cuts off his head, sticks it in that little fish bowl, and then gives him a new body, only to a mechanical body, only to turn around and promise him a new fleshy one. Why did she even go through all that loophole?
First off, first off, she didn't kill him, she saved his life. And so that's the first aspect of that.
Was he injured?
Yeah, he was severely injured.
Fallout Quake. That's right. He had that.
He had a bunch of rocks fall on him.
That's right.
So he was dying, and so she arguably saved him by giving him the robot body. And but of course she can only build a robot body based on her own protocols. Because for what it's worth, interestingly enough, she is not yet creative. She cannot create a being more complex than herself. Whereas Radcliffe could actually create something more complex. Well, maybe not more complex than himself, because he himself was a human and Ada is LMD. So, yeah. There is actually an entire theory that says you cannot make something more complex than yourself because you would not be able to comprehend how it would operate. Which is why humans could never actually create sentient robots smarter than us because we cannot conceive of what that programming would be.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it's a theory. I'm sure there's other people who say, well, no, we could do it with something, but I'm a big agreeer with that idea that that's not something that we could really move beyond just because we wouldn't know where to start. Okay, so onto the story from there. We see that Simmons looking at the
machine.
No, well, yeah. Looking at the designs for the machine that that Trip brought back, realizes what it is. It's the matter from nothing device.
Yep.
That Eli had created.
Yeah, which is a great callback to how the whole season started.
And for what it's worth, again, that's an interesting thing. That matter from nothing, again, would be something that Chithan could use to bring himself over. Because, it's only a matter of time before someone decides, when they start making matter from nothing, that they are going to make, him or her, as they say, an Adam Warlock, an ultimate android, to, be their partner in their magic, So I think that's really an important thing, that's what they're creating, and that's what Chithan is driving people to create.
Yeah.
Because it is something very easy to get you to want to create something that can make something from nothing, which of course is the core of the magical ideal, is that let's create something from nothing. So, she realizes what they're creating. We see that Fitz has actually finished the program, and they start building it in the real world.
Yes.
Meanwhile, back in the framework, Daisy's saying, or no, was it Daisy or no, it was Simmons. Was it Daisy? Yeah, it was Daisy who was. No, it was Simmons. It was Simmons who's like, we don't need to worry about that. We need to get to the machine so we can get out. Mm-hmm. And Coulson, in true Director of S.H.I.E.L.D. fashion, says, I think we can. The only way to save us is by saving them. Meaning we have to save this world in order to get back to our own.
Yes.
And so they take the tape of the Patriot, which they got from May, which shows the Patriot's heroic death. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm still not convinced the Patriot's dead. Still not. Because not for nothing, it might be advantageous for Ada to test this on some lines of code somewhere. And there's the Patriot's lines of code there that she can recreate real easily in the real world. Just to see just to make sure the process works.
By putting his lines of code just before the moment of his death in the framework back into his flesh body.
Exactly, just to make sure it works.
Test run. Okay.
Well, no, I mean just to create him a new flesh body, assuming his old flesh body died.
Oh, okay.
Which again gives us one more person who could be the vessel of Chithan. Or something like that. Exactly what she creates, we'll have to see. Well, or maybe she's just going to be all Hank Pym on it and just say, to heck with testing it. Let's just use it on ourselves. Classic mad scientist fashion. So so they go and they break into the Bakshi report, where we get one more delightful reference to the current political scheme, where Bakshi is sexually harassing one of his producers, suggesting they go furniture shopping, as our current president has said he does to try and pick up women, because he's just that lame. Let's go buy a couch. That's gonna get me in your drawers. I don't know. Maybe technically. Furniture, drawers, little.
Oh, yes.
Yes, a kind of reverse double entendre, because the drawers that we would normally say would be, reference to undergarments, but this in case we're actually referring to bureau drawers. But anyway, So they quickly take over the station, threaten Bakshi, and he, of course, immediately folds. And this was actually kind of scary to me for a minute there when Ward, because basically they're like, we have to be able to stay on the air. And Ward basically says, I'll stay in the control room. I'll keep us running as long as I can. And that gave me two big worries. Worry one is that he's going to betray everyone. Because we got this thing about he was worried that he wasn't going to get his guy back when she goes back to the real world.
Yeah, that was an interesting point. Although I wasn't worried that he would betray them. I was kind of getting, because they already established that his regret, it seems, obviously we're just doing with the code, Ward, not a real Ward, but his regret was being recruited by Garrett, which they did show a picture of Garrett on the TV. I don't know if you caught that towards the beginning of the episode. There was something with Garrett on some monitor somewhere. But Victoria Hand was the one who had recruited him.
Yeah, I caught that.
Which was yeah. And so it's very interesting to see, and we kind of touched on this in the last episode, the nature versus nurture issue. And Ward definitely seems to be very influenced by the nurture he received from Ward as far as why he became an evil Hydra agent in the real life.
Yeah. Although interestingly in that is that even though he was recruited into S.H.I.E.L.D., he did remain loyal to when Hydra took over. So, so he's still the survivalist.
Yes.
Anyway, but what that got me worrying was two things. One, I was worried that he was going to betray them, and two, I was worried he was going to die. He was going to have another hero's death. And I really want Brett Dalton back. I mean, yes, it might bring us Chithon into the real world, but I would really like to see Brett Dalton as a heroic character again. I would love to see that Brett Dalton character in the real world.
Yeah, we definitely need one of those characters out in the real world, because it just would be a very interesting thing that they could do where this person's questioning their reality and if they're a real person, kind of the whole Pinocchio thing where they want to be real, but unlike Ada, where she turned into a murder bot, it's like an existential crisis that they're experiencing, realizing their memories and everything was fake, and they want to become real.
Yes. So in our final moment, we see that the studio has been surrounded, but not by Hydra troops. Who instead has come to rescue us?
The power of the people.
Yay, people! Yay. And I, for one, welcome our new S.H.I.E.L.D. overlords. So that seems to be where we leave us off this week with the revolution beginning.
Yep.
We will see if Ada and her henchmen can stop it. We will see if she even cares, for now that they have their fully operational machine. Perhaps they shall simply become real boys and girls and murder us all. And we still have that question of, does the Patriot have enough of a healing factor to bring him back from death?
Yeah.
These are the questions that we will hopefully answer next week on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And next week, if the revolution comes, perhaps we will be kicked out of the framework, and the Rob Southgate, leader of the Inhuman Resistance, will be back to get rid of all our precious blue soap. In the meantime, though, Kenneth, how can people find you if they want to reach out to you and tell you how awesome you are?
They can reach out to me on Facebook, Twitter, and Gmail at Kenneth Smyson, KENNETHSMYSON.
Awesome. And of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way, just like we do still to this day in the framework, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. And of course, follow me on the Twitters as I live tweet Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and various other things at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEssser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle for quality. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, fight the revolution, join the revolution. It doesn't matter, because this is not how the world ends. Enough said.
Enough said.